Profit and loss. This is the concept for today's video. We'll be understanding the basic terminologies that we have in profit and loss. At the same time, we'll understand, can we use some tricks and tips to solve the questions of profit and loss? There are concepts that we have not studied during our school days, but in examinations, we definitely get questions based on them. Do subscribe to the channel if you want to have more and more notifications from our side as and when we upload a new video. And at the same time, if you like the video, please click on the like button.
So let's start with the basic terminologies that we are going to use in this chapter called as profit and loss. The first one among them is called as cost price. Now let's understand it carefully. It is the price at which a product is purchased. It is commonly abbreviated as CP. Now what is a cost price? You go to the market, you purchase a product, whatever amount you paid to the shopkeeper is termed as cost price. I'm going to explain this in much detail once we go through all of those basic terminologies at once. So the second one is selling price. Now it is the price at which a product is sold. It is commonly abbreviated as SP. Now what happens? The price at which the shopkeeper sold you the product is called as selling price. Now people usually get confused. Let me explain you the same concept with an example. I go to the market and I purchase a coffee mug. The coffee mug actually costed me around 250 bucks. I paid 250 bucks to the shopkeeper, which means the cost price for the mug is 250 for me. But at the same time, the same 250 bucks acts as a selling price for the shopkeeper, which means a same value of transaction would act as a cost price to one person and as a selling price to the other person. So you have to be very clear on this, on which side of the transaction you are. Depending upon that, it will be called as a cost price or a selling price. Now, when we say there's a profit or a gain, when do we say so? If the selling price of a product is more than the cost price, there will be profit in the deal. Let's assume that I am a shopkeeper. I purchased a pen for rupees 10 from the wholesale dealer and I sell the same pen for rupees 15, which means I purchased it at 10 rupees, I sold it at 15 rupees, which means my selling price is more than my cost price, and that's when I say that I am earning a profit, or it is also termed as gain. On the other side, if my purchase value, that is my cost price, is more than my selling price, then I incur a loss. So the same pen which was bought at 10 rupees, if I sell the same pen at anything less than 10, would lead to a loss. Now these are the basic terms. When it comes to the formula, what do we have? So how do we calculate a profit or a gain value? It is equal to selling price minus cost price. Similarly, if I have to calculate it in terms of percentage, I am going to do selling price minus cost price divided by cost price multiply by 100. So what you have to take care here is that in the denominator I am having cost price. So the same formula can be rewritten as, in terms of profit value, profit divided by cost price multiply by 100. Now what happens when it is a loss percentage or a loss? So loss certainly happens when cost price is more than selling price, and therefore the formula for loss becomes cost price minus selling price. And therefore loss percentage is equal to cost price minus selling price, that's my numerator, divided by cost price multiply by 100. Now the point to be noted here is whether it's a case of profit percentage or a case of loss percentage, my denominator value will always be CP. That means with reference to cost price, I will be calculating my profit or loss percentage. That will always be the case. And if it is a loss percentage, I can also write it as loss divided by cost price. So what I usually tell my students is you can club both these values. And what do you get? So I can get a profit or a loss percentage as selling price minus cost price divided by cost price multiplied by 100. Now if you observe, I have put this in a mod sign, which means even if my cost price is more than selling price, I'll be getting a positive value from here. Though if SP is more than CP, my end result here will give me a profit percentage. On the contrary, if cost price is more than the selling price, I should be getting my loss percentage. So this is how we usually calculate profit, loss, profit percentage and loss percentage. Now these are very basic things. You must have gone through all these concepts during your school days. Let's pick some basic examples that are usually asked in the placement drives. Now I'm going to talk about some simple questions and then we'll increase on the level. The first question on your screen says, a shopkeeper sold an article for rupees 2500. Just to reiterate everything, because it is sold, I am getting my selling price as 2500. Don't worry, I'm not going to do all these things in examination. This question is such a simple one. I'm not going to use my pen and paper to solve it. So my selling price here is 2500. If the cost price of the article is 2000, so cost price is given as 2000. And we have been asked to calculate the profit percentage. Now this is such a simple thing. I know that the formula is selling price minus cost price divided by cost price and multiply by 100. But I won't suggest you to apply the formula to get this value. What you can do is, you can see that the difference between selling price and cost price is nothing but 500 rupees. And what is 500 rupees out of 2000? It is nothing but 25%. You must be very good in percentages if you want to calculate your answers quickly. And that means my answer to this question is option number B. Such an easy one. Let's take another one. A man purchases a TV for rupees 8000. Now this time I got my cost price as 8000. That's the purchase price. And sells it at 10% loss. So here it is given that the loss percentage is 10%. And the question is asking me what is the selling price. So I have to calculate selling price. I know the formula for loss percentage would be cost price minus selling price divided by cost price multiplied by 100. But my dear friend, we are going to participate in competitive examinations. We can't solve our questions in that much of detail. So what we do, we simply can calculate 10% of 8000, which is nothing but 800 rupees. So it was sold at a less price as compared to cost price. So what is that price which is lost? That's 800 rupees. And therefore what is the selling price? That certainly will be equal to 8000 minus 800, and that is 7200 as my answer. As I'm repeatedly saying so, that I'm not going to use all these methods in examinations, but since I'm going through the basic questions or the basic process of solving it, I am explaining it. Let's go to the next one. So the next question says, Suresh bought a cell phone from a shop. If he sells it at 8400 to Mahesh, so let me put the values first of all. Selling price is 8400 for him. To whom it was sold? It was sold to Mahesh, and earns a profit of 12%, which means my profit percentage is 12. Find the price at which Suresh bought the cell phone. That means I have to calculate cost price. Now this is again, sometimes people usually use the formula profit percentage is equal to selling price minus cost price divided by cost price multiplied by 100 and put the values in the formula to get the answer. Guys, please get into a habit of writing it as if, since there's a profit of 12%, I can directly write as 1.12 of cost price should be equal to my selling price. If you can write the values in this way straight away, you will be in a much better position. How did I got this expression? Let me explain you. It says that the person incurred a profit, which means he got profit plus cost price should be equal to selling price. What does that mean? Cost price plus profit, which is 10%. That means 10% of cost price is equal to selling price. Upon cancellation, I end up getting cost price plus zero point 0.1 of cost price. In fact, it was 12%. I'm so sorry. Since it was 12%, I am going to make it 12 instead of 10, and therefore no cancellation. So I'm going to get 0.12 of CP is equal to selling price, and therefore it is 1.12 CP is equal to selling price. That's what I wrote as my first expression. Now out of this, I know selling price, which is 8400. So when I divide it by 1.12, I'm certainly going to get my cost price. And if I remove the decimals, this is how it will be. And it is a simple calculation now. So what if I do? Let's do a simple calculation then, just to explain you. 40, oh, that's 42. What am I doing? Okay, then it becomes 28, and then it becomes 21. 21 gets cancelled 3 times, 28 gets 4 times, so it is 3 by 4, and the values would be with some zeros. Yes, 4 of them. So what do I get? I end up getting 7500 as my answer, which is option number D. I took a lot of time to calculate it. We should not be doing the same in the examinations. This was sheer way of explaining it in the best way to you. Let's take another one. Oh, it gets overlapped. A shopkeeper bought a watch for rupees 1200, which means the cost price of the watch for him is 1200 rupees. At what price should he sell the watch to earn a profit of 20%? 25%, pretty simple. He wants to earn a profit of 25%. What does he do? 25% of 1200 is nothing but 300. So he should be selling the watch at 1200 plus 300, that's 1500. That's my option number C. How easy that is. So please understand, these are the basic questions that you may get in some of the simple examinations, most likely in the placement drives. Let's see what I have for you. Now, apart from those simple formula based questions, there are few more concepts in the topic called as profit and loss. And mind it, most of the questions that come in the competitive exams are from these concepts. So let me explain these concepts to you in detail, and then we'll see what kind of questions do we get. Now this is something different. Maybe you have not studied them during your school days. So the statement on your screen says, if the cost price of M objects is equal to the selling price of N objects, then the resultant profit or loss is given by M minus N upon N multiplied by 100. Now what does that mean? Let's see. What are the important factors here? Number one, for the first time, profit or loss is calculated on the basis of quantity. So far we were calculating profit and loss on the basis of CP and SP. For the first time, profit and loss is getting calculated in the terms of quantity, which is M and N here. Now let's understand, what does this say? So let me take an example. Suppose I purchased 10 pens. I'm giving a real-time example for rupees 100. So I purchased 10 pens for rupees 100. And on the contrary, I sold 8 pens for rupees 100. That's what the condition is, which means the cost price of M objects is equal, please understand, is equal to the selling price of N objects. That means my cost price and my selling price should be equal. This is the prerequisite for this concept. So now what you observe here is, here one pen was costing me rupees 10 because there were 10 pens for 100 rupees. But when I sold them, the same pen was actually sold at anything more than 10 rupees, or if I write it exactly, it was 12.5 rupees. So what do you see? The cost price is 10, the selling price is 12.5. What will it be? It will be always a profit case. So instead of doing all this of calculation, even if I do the calculation in a way such that my M in this case is 10 and my N in this case is 8. So when I put the values in the formula, I get 10 minus 8 divided by 8 multiplied by 100, which means 2 by 8 multiplied by 100, and that gives me 25%. And since it's a positive value, it's a case of profit, which you already have seen that it's a profit percentage value that we are going to get, especially with the example that we took. So over here, number one, the prices at both the transactions, the cost price and the selling price, even though the number is different, should be same. If you want to apply this concept, it should be the same. Number one. Number two, in the formula, denominator is n. And what is n? N is the number associated with selling price. But in my profit and loss statements or formulas, my denominator was supposed to be cost price. Here, my value is the value associated with selling price. These are some points that we must remember before we apply this concept. So two things, I am repeating them. Number one, the cost price and selling price should be equal. Number two, the denominator should be n, which is associated with selling price. I'm repeating it again and again because if you mess up this value, or if you put m instead of n in the denominator, instead of getting a positive outcome, you may end up getting a negative value or a value different from the actual answer. So we'll see some questions around it. Let's take another concept first of all. This is another very, very important concept. If two objects are sold at the same selling price, one with a profit of X% and the other with a loss of X%, then the net outcome will always be a loss, and it will be given by loss percentage is equal to X square by 100%. Now let me explain this once again. Suppose there are two products, product A and product B. According to the statement, they are sold at same selling price. Let me assume their selling price is as 100 and 100. It's always safe to assume 100 whenever we are talking in terms of percentage. It's also given that the one gave me a profit of X percentage, the other gave me a loss of X percentage, which means profit percentage and loss percentage value should also be same. So there are two cases that must be a prerequisite if you apply this concept. Number one, the selling price for both the products should be same. The profit percentage and loss percentage value should be the same. So which means now I have to calculate what is the net profit or loss value. For profit and loss, I need two things. One is selling price, the other one is cost price. I know the selling price is here, and therefore my net selling price for both the products is 200 rupees. But I don't know the cost price. So if I calculate the cost price, since it's a profit case, my profit percentage is equal to my selling price minus cost price for A divided by cost price for A multiplied by 100. So upon calculation, I can easily get the cost price for product A. Over here, it's a loss case. So my formula would be 10 is equal to cost price for B minus selling price, which is 100, divided by cost price for B multiplied by 100. Now this is basic that we have done in the beginning of this video. So by using this, I can calculate the cost price for A and similarly the cost price for B. Can anyone calculate and figure these values? Okay, so I'm going to write the values directly. So it is going to be 90.9, and that's an approximate value, by the way. And over here, this is the loss case. Therefore, here approximate value is 111.1. Again, an approximate value. So what is the net cost price now? If you'll add both these values, the net cost price would be somewhere close to 202 rupees. Again, this is going to be an approximate number because we have already done twice the approximations. So what is the profit or loss percentage? I can see that my selling price is 200, my cost price is 200. So one thing is sure that it is going to be a loss case. Now what is loss percentage? It is going to be cost price minus selling price divided by cost price multiplied by 100. So what do I get? 2 divided by 202 multiplied by 100, which is going to be 100 by 101, and approximately that value is nothing but 1% of loss. So this is my answer when I go by the conventional method. What if I apply this formula? What is my value of X here in this question or in this example? It is 10%. So my value of X is going to be 10, and therefore square of 10 will be 100, and 100 upon 100 will give me a loss of 1%. So easy to calculate. Then why do I do all these calculations? This was just to explain you the concept. Not that we are going to do the same in the examinations. But many of my students ask me, sir, what if this is 10% and this is something else? Suppose this remains 10% and this value is, let's say, 20%. So what do? Then we have to follow the same method. We can't go with this formula then, because to apply this formula I have two prerequisites. One is the selling price should be same. The second thing is the loss percentage and the profit percentage value should be same. And if you watch one more thing here, this loss percentage does not depend upon selling price. So in the question also, I will be given with selling price, but ideally I don't need that because I don't have any dependency of this loss percentage over the selling price. We'll see some questions and you'll understand it better. The first question on your screen. It says a man sold two articles, each of the same price, 640 rupees. He earns 20% profit and 20% loss on the second. 20% profit on the first and 20% loss on the second. What is the overall profit or loss percentage? Does this remind you of the concept that we have studied just now? The same selling price and then the same values of profit and loss percentages. So what do I get? My final outcome should be loss percentage is equal to X square by 100. So with this, I can say that option number 2 and 4 are absolutely incorrect. We can't have profit. So what is the loss percentage? X is 20 here. Square of 20 gives me 400 upon 100, which means I will have a loss of 4%. Now the question says find his overall profit or loss percentage. Or in fact, it should not be percentage, it should be the value. So 4% of 640. Now please understand what I'm going to do. Ideally, I should be doing it this way, 4% of 640, but let's skip the steps. So what I'm going to do is 1% of 640 is 6.4. 1% of 640 is 6.4. Therefore, 4% will be just 4 times of it. 4 6 are 24 plus 4 4s are 16 with 1.6. So it is going to be 25.6 rupees of loss. That's my option number C as the answer. So this is how easily we can calculate a question rather than going here and there with the traditional way if we know the concept pretty well. Let's take another one. Oh, there's an overlap again. Anyways, a vendor bought 6 toffees for a rupee. How many must he sell for a rupee to have a profit of 20%? I told you whenever we are talking in terms of quantity, there is a formula that I have which says profit or loss percentage is equal to m minus n divided by n multiplied by 100. So over here, I know certain values such as profit percentage is 20. Let me put that value. M, I told you M is the value that is associated with cost price. So a vendor bought 6 toffees for a rupee. Bought, that means 6 should be my M. Minus N is what I have to calculate. So what happens? It's a very simple calculation. Even if you do cross multiplication, you'd be getting N is equal to 30 minus 5N. 5N will come on the left hand side. It will become 6N is equal to 30. And then N becomes 5. So 5 is my answer, which is not in the option. Therefore, my answer is none of these. A simple one, right? Let's take one more. Okay, so the question says a person purchases some article at the rate of 4 articles for rupees 5 and sell them at the rate of 5 article for rupees 4. Find the total profit or loss percentage. Now this is different. Here, my values have gone different, which means for applying this formula of M minus N, I should have same selling price. But over here, the conditions are different. What has happened here? It says that 4 articles are purchased at rupees 5 and they are sold at 5 articles for rupees 4. And we have to figure out what is the profit or loss scenario. So this is the purchase case. When it is a purchase case, this will give me cost price of one article. So cost price for one article would be 5 by 4, and that's nothing but 1.25 rupees per article. This transaction is going to give me the selling price. Selling price for one article would be 4 by 5, which is nothing but 0.80 rupees. So I know the selling prices and cost prices. Now it's a very simple way to calculate. Now it clearly says that selling price is less than cost price. That means definitely it will be a case of loss. So I can't have profits here. And what is the loss? The difference between these two is nothing but 0.45 divided by cost price, which is 1.25, multiplied by 100. If I remove the decimal values, I end up getting 25 4s are 25 5s are 5 9s are 45, 9 4s are 36% of loss. That's my answer to the question. Again, a simple one, just that you can't apply the m minus n formula here. Let's see what we have next. Now there are two concepts other than profit, loss, cost price, selling price. There are two more concepts which are very important in the concept of profit and loss, and that is marked price and discount. What is marked price? Marked price is the price which is quoted or appears on the product in the form of a label. So when we go to the shop and we pick up a product, there's a tag on the product which has some price written over it. That's called as marked price. It may or may not be similar to the sales price, which means the selling price may or may not be the same. There are some shops which have a tag written as fixed price. Their marked price is equal to selling price. But in most of the cases, especially in the Indian markets, we have a tendency of bargaining, negotiation, and that's where the concept of discount comes into picture. So whatever price reduction the shopkeeper gives to you, that value is called as discount. So discounts are nothing but are a reduction in the price of the product. Usually shopkeepers increase the markup price and give their customers discounts to avoid any loss. The price after giving a discount is generally considered as the selling price of the product. Now this is again very common in Indian markets. What happens? The shopkeepers know that the customer is going to bargain. So they keep the marked price at a higher note. Therefore, by putting it at a higher note and then offering a discount, then also they end up making some profit. So I usually tell my students that marked price, which we usually say as MRP, is a club of cost price plus expected profit. I'm saying expected profit plus discount to be offered. Discount to be offered. Out of which, if there is no discount, then cost price plus selling price also, in fact, cost price plus profit becomes equal to selling price. Otherwise also, this is called as discount, or if the discount is not given, the value is called as selling price. Let's look at some of the questions on the concepts of mark price and discounts. The mark price of a chair was rupees 1200. This price was 20% above the cost price. Now I can directly write it as the marked price, let's say MRP, I'm going to write the values, is 1200. This price was 20% above the cost price, which means my cost price should be equal to 1000. Now I can write these values directly because I know a simple way of calculating them. It was sold at a discount of 10% on the marked price. So the product was sold at a 10% discount on marked price. What is 10% of 1200? It is 120. So selling price will be equal to marked price minus discount. And therefore you will end up getting 1080. Now the question is, what is profit percentage? The cost price is 1000. The selling price is 1080. What is the difference between them? That's 80 rupees on 1000. Ideally, I'm not going to do this in examinations. I'm going to write it straight away. That's 8% of profit. So that's how easy it is, even though mark price comes into the concept. The next question. Ellen purchases a car at a discount of 20% from an automobile store and sells it at a profit of 20% for rupees 1800. How much discount does he get from the store? Now this is a different question. Let's see what it says. Ellen purchases a car at a discount of 20%. So for example, the cost price was CP. He purchases the car at a discount of 20%. That means, or I should say, let's say the selling price was SP, because we are calculating on SP. So if the selling price was SP and he purchased it at 20% discount, so that means he purchased it at 0.8 of SP. Now this was the one side of the transaction when he purchased the car. Next time what happens, he sells it at a profit of 20%. So over 0.8 SP there is a profit. So 0.8 SP, there's a profit of 20%. So he sold it at 1.2 times of it. And what is that value given to us? It is equal to 1800. I know selling a car at 1800, absolutely not possible in this era, but that's how the question is. So the question says how much discount does he get from the store? So from here I can easily calculate the value of SP, which is nothing but 1800 divided by 1.2 multiplied by 0.8. Upon removal of these decimals, I'll put couple of more zeros here. Now let's cancel this off. So I'm going to give 12 ones are 15. Okay, triple zeros here. So it will fetch me 15,000 divided by 8. Before I calculate it further, what I'm going to do is I've been asked to calculate the discount that he gets. So he was getting 20% of the discount. So 20% of this value. So I'm going to use it directly so that I can get my answer finally. So it is going to fetch me 553. So it is coming out as 3000 divided by 8. And this is sheer calculation, nothing more than that. 8 threes are 24, 60. Okay. 8 sevens are 56 and 5. That's my answer to the question. So whatever time I took, it was only for the calculation, which will eventually come into practice when you will try more and more questions around. Let's see another question. A merchant decided to mark up his goods by 20% and then offered 10% discount. What will be the percentage of profit or loss? So what he did, suppose there was a price of 100 rupees as cost price. This is a tip, guys. If the question is talking in terms of percentages, you can assume any value as 100. So I assume cost price as 100. He decides to mark up his goods by 20%. So which means his MRP would be 20% more, and that's 120 rupees. And now he offers a discount of 10%. 10% on MRP obviously. So it will be 12 rupees of discount. That means selling price would be equal to 108 rupees. Now the question is, what will be the profit percentage? It will be 8%, obviously, because it is compared to 100. So it will be 8% of profit. That's my answer number 1. Let's look at another question. A merchant sold goods at 10% discount and earned a profit of 20%. What would be the percentage of profit if no discount was offered? Now this is a good question again. Now I am going to assume something as 100 once again, because the question is talking in terms of percentages. So a merchant sold goods at 10% discount. So I assume that it is supposed to be 100. What is it? That's the MRP. MRP is 100. He sold the goods at 10% discount, which means he sold them at 90 rupees. But he still made a profit of 20%, which means he made 1.2 times of cost price as his selling price. And selling price is nothing but 90 rupees. So my cost price from this can be 90 divided by 1.2. And if I remove the decimal, this will be 900 upon 12. Now let's see what the question is talking about. What would be the percentage of profit if no discount was offered? So if he would have not offered any discount, his selling price would have been 100. Then in that case, my profit percentage would have been selling price, which would have been 100, minus cost price. I'm not doing any further calculation. I'm just keeping it as it is. Divided by cost price, multiply by 100. So what do I get over here? It will be upon LCM, it will be 1200 minus 900, which is 300, divided by 12, multiply by 12, divided by 900, multiply by 100, and you can probably see your answer from here. It is going to be 100 by 3, which is 33.33%. So that's how we can easily calculate the questions of profit and loss. I have tried to cover some simple variety of profit and loss questions in this part of video. In some more videos to come, we'll take a good quality question of P&L. It will be some moderate to high level of questions that we'll be picking in upcoming videos. I hope you would have loved the concepts and would have built up some sort of knowledge or some sort of concept understanding around this topic.
If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to never miss a video from upGrad.